Good morning, Joshua Sarge here. Excited to start another episode of Monday Morning Motivation. Today, we are talking about the high performance pathway. And I'm going to share my screen basically the entire time, jot different notes down so that you can see. But what is the high performance pathway? It is the formula for growth, the formula to move forward with greater success in life. And I have found that many times people in general are simply doing life based on other people's terms or just completely unaware of the bigger picture or having bigger goals, better goals. So the only goals that most people have, if they have any, is centered around things like school or a job without really thinking of the bigger picture that many times people find out in their 20s, 30s, 40s what life is really all about. It's more about, purpose and living and acting with that purpose, being fulfilled in life, not short term happiness, but long term fulfillment. And ultimately, people have questions because they have spent their whole life only doing things in the moment that they thought was important for the next one, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That they have questions about, like, how do I even do that? How do I find my purpose? How do I discover my gifts? Like, that sort of thing. Now, some people also on the flip side of the coin will say, like, stop thinking about passions and purpose. Instead, just go make money. And I have done it both ways. And I would say that money is important. It's not everything, but everything in life takes money. So if you don't learn how to control it, it will control you. So I do believe in learning how to no longer have a money problem. But I also believe, especially in this day and age, that when it comes down to it, if you are going through life like Monday morning, if that is the worst day of your week, you are doing life wrong because there are many, many ways to control money, to make money, to build something on the side for yourself that is more passion driven, is more passion based. Now, if you believe the only role that you have in life is to make as much money as you can and become multimillionaire or billionaire, and that is the purpose that you have, I think that's wrong too. Nothing wrong with being a millionaire or billionaire because money is a tool. You can use it for incredible things if you so choose, or you can use it for very bad things if you so choose. So the money thing, in terms of having a lot of it or not having any, people argue either side of that. I don't even think that is the point. I believe it's about where your heart is and what you're doing with the time you have. But I mean, there's a lot of people out there that do have a lot of money and are broken and busted and frustrated. And I would even say broke, not financially, but in every other area of their life. So the high performance pathway is your growth formula. It's the growth strategy, and you can look at it in any small endeavor, any particular endeavor, or like a business or whatnot, or life in general. So there are 3 steps to the high performance pathway. And again, this is true for any one thing as well as all things in your life, right? And again, I am sharing my screen so that you can follow along with this, but it begins with the awakening, okay? And I'll even do this because it'll be an acronym. Um, so awakening is where it all starts. Now, what do I mean by this? What I am talking about is, and again, I'm not running this through the filter of the world when I say this, but identity discovery. Okay, I'm going to shrink this down just a little bit. Identity discovery. So, what that means is not finding yourself the way the world would describe it, but ultimately finding the identity of who you are and whose you are in God. Many people, like I said, they have the spirit of rebellion in their teens, and many times even in their 20s. It's like in our teens we rebel, And then in our 20s, were frustrated because we rebelled. And then we start having this awakening in our 30s, 40s, basically midlife. Now, we could talk about this on the spiritual level. We could talk about this on the financial level, even from the standpoint of any small goal, right? Like the awakening, the identity discovery is where awareness begins. Discovering, like, hey, this is where I am and this is where I want to be, right? So we have identity discovery, and this is based on character, not personality. Identity, when we really dive in deeper to it, we look at the fact that we were created for greatness, conditioned to fail. But who you actually are is not a personality thing. That many times comes down to how you were raised. Now, obviously, we are all different and we all have small different quirks about us, and it makes us, that make us unique. But many times it's just what you got away with as a kid growing up that then you reinforce it as an adult. But character, the morals, the values, the ethics that you live by based on some sort of code. And if we're following God and his plan for our life, then that is a biblical code that we should be following, right? But even, again, you break it down by like, I want to get in better shape. Awakening begins with realizing, like, wow, I've really let myself go. Rather than what the world will tell you is it's fine. It's fine. It's better to be out of shape. It's better to not worry about it. Oh, you look good. It doesn't matter. Like that, hey, we need to start raising the bar with where we are and where we want to be. So this is character, not personality. And then it's your new paradigm, the new outlook, the new perspective. Because perception is reality. The way you see the world determines what you see in the world. And if you go out there unaware, like, you ever meet those people that are just completely unaware of themselves, right? They have no self awareness. When you suddenly become aware, your whole perspective shifts, and that's a new paradigm. We'd also do like the litmus test on this. There are actually like studies where groups of people, like 100 or 1,000 people, they're shown an image, right? And we've even seen this more recently with like that dress picture, where it's like some people are like, oh, it's like black and blue, and other people are like, oh, it's white and gold. Perspective is reality. And when you see that, you can't possibly understand how it could be another color. And that's the litmus test in your life. Like, do you hold up? What are you seeing to be true? Now, if you shift the perspective and you admit, you know what, in that area or in every area, I'm not actually where I want to be, with a real self-assessment, you can start shifting the life vision. Because if you're still alive and kicking, like, praise God for putting you on the wake up list today. If you're still alive and kicking, then you have life to live. So don't give up. Don't act like you're too old. I mean, I know people in their 30s that, because of pride, are so locked in on pretending everything is perfect because of pride. But they have so much life to live that if they would just change now, like in their 30s, they would still have 40, 50, 60 years, 70 years of awesome life ahead of them. But because of pride, they won't make a change, and they pretend, like, everyone can see it around them. Their marriage is falling apart. They don't have any time with their kids. They're always struggling financially. Like, the business isn't where they want it to be, but like, they pretend like they should be getting a Grammy Award because they're acting so good in their own eyes, in their own mind, but everyone else can see it crumbling. And that's not how you want to be living your life. So once you shift the perspective and you can just admit, you like put your guard down, like, okay, awakening. I am now woke, and I realize that I need to make a change. The life vision is now here. I'm raising the bar, and basically with that, holding yourself accountable to that. And then the one thing that if you are a man, you need to look at is that litmus test in terms of how now I don't believe everything is about performance, especially salvation. But when we look at how are you performing based upon the role of man, how are you filling the shoes of the way God actually created you, then we have protection, provision, connection, and direction. Protection. Now, in the world today, people like to argue about this, debate this. It just is what it is. Biblically, men were created to protect. They're the protectors. That's why they're bigger. That's why they're stronger. It just is what I mean. We can debate this all we want, but all you have to do is look at biology. Protection. How are you doing? Now, it's not just physical. It's also making sure the people under your care feel safe and secure emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and physically. Provision. Are you providing well? Does your wife, do your kids, do they feel secure? Do they feel safe? That there is security. You know, it's one of the things like um, there's a book called Love and Respect that kind of breaks down how women want to feel loved, men want to feel respected. But I would kind of go even further with that, that when it comes to these, roles of man, and the way that in a good marriage, in a good family, a man will hit all like check all these boxes. One of the biggest things is a woman doesn't want to just feel love, but one of the greatest ways that she feels love and feels like she can finally let her guard down and reveal herself and be vulnerable with her husband is when you check the provision box from a standpoint of security, peace of mind, a relieving of stress, and then connection. Now we could even say procreation, but it's a lot deeper than that. But obviously, men are called to lead the family, and this is why there's so many broken homes because men don't connect in the family. There obviously may be procreation, but if there is no connection, then we're not raising our kids well. We're not in it with our wives. We typically during dating make getting married the slaying of the dragon. I did it rather than obviously you got the bride, like that's fantastic, but then rather than being on a mission with our wives at that point, being in connection with her, building something great, doing something awesome together, we basically just said like we hang up the sword, we hang up the chainmail, we hang up the helmet and the armor and be like, well, I did that, I'm good now. And that's just not true. And then direction. Are you leading your family? Or is your wife in charge? Now, one of the biggest problems today, again, is that because men have dropped the ball so much, women feel the need to pick it up. So if you start picking up the ball and running with it, you start leading and directing your family. Um, and it's not a don't do what I do what I say, which is how a lot of leaders are, a lot of managers in the workplace and whatnot. No, it's about do what I do, don't worry about what I say, just do what I do, follow my example. But from a standpoint of direction, how are you directing your family? How are you leading your family spiritually? How are you leading your family physically? Um, are your young children out of shape because you're out of shape? In America, that's very common today. It's like borderline child abuse because everything we do, they do. They follow in our footsteps. How are you leading your family relationally? And this goes all the way back again, like we're talking about connection, we're talking about protection. Do they feel they can communicate? Do they feel they can open up? Are the relationships for your children with their friends healthy? Because you are leading in that, right? So that's the awakening. Now again, you can look at this from a standpoint of a culture test, like if you're running a business or your household in general. Um, and let me just write this in here too, or type this in there. Culture test. So this would be, again, identity, standards, language, expectations, and accountability. So the identity in your household. Do your children know who they are? Are you raising winners? What are the standards like with the way that people act? What is the language like? Are you sowing into them? Are you affirming their identity, right? In God? What are the expectations you have? Because many times we lower the bar and we allow our children or other people to get away and do different things because we secretly, subconsciously have low expectations for them. And then accountability. Is there a certain level of accountability in the household, in your business, in your own life? But you can look at this and hopefully you have enough common sense to look at this and be like, okay, so I can see this in all areas of life or in one specific area of life. I would hope. I would hope. Okay. And then the next step is going to be commitment. Commitment to once you gain awareness, once you have that awakening, um, once you have that awakening, what are you going to do about it? Once you realize I'm not where I want to be, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to act like it's not that important? Or are you going to commit to a plan? Are you going to commit to executing a plan to move yourself forward? Because it is actually that important. Okay. So, what we have to do, really, to begin with, is look at what is commitment. Now, a commitment means you're following through even when the emotion changes that you had when you made the commitment, when you made that decision. Like when you're happy, when you're pumped, when you're excited, and you say like, "Hey, I'm going to cut this stuff out of my diet. I'm not going to eat that anymore because I know I don't feel good." Because like the older you get, like if you're younger, the older you get, the more you understand this. Like for me, it's things like grains, it's processed sugar, it's processed dairy, which is actually very very common today because it was introduced years ago, and now more and more people that eat it, it just breaks you down. Then every generation gets worse because of it. My joints hurt, back hurts, everything's tight and stiff. So it's like, okay, what is commitment? Because you have those realizations and you gain, that awakening all the time, different things, and again, different levels to this. But commitment is the follow through, regardless of the emotion you have. Hey, I said I was going to do it, and with this, just so you know, winning is a habit. If I can say, and so is losing. So when you make a commitment to yourself, but you don't follow through on the commitment, one, it wasn't a commitment. It was a cool feeling and you vocalized it. A cool thought and you vocalized it, but you were not actually committed. A lot of people like the idea of success, but they have yet to fall in love with the work success requires. So here's the thing, don't give in to emotions. We are emotional beings, but when emotions are dictating your actions, you're out of control. Winning is a habit, so is losing. If you build a habit of following through because you're actually committed to whatever you said, and this is why it's very important not to commit to things that you're not going to follow through on anyway. Don't overpromise and underdeliver, underpromise and overdeliver, but you need to promise and commit to the things that are actually important. The best yes, many times, is a no. So if you say no to the things that are not important, you say yes to the things that are important. Like if you have that awakening moment, that awareness moment, you're like, I'm not where I want to be in this area, commit to changing it. And then be unemotional about the work required. Focus on the result and do whatever it takes. So, what is commitment? We answer that. Winning is a habit, so is losing. If you want to be a winner, then you need to do what you got to do, even if you don't feel like doing it. Okay. And then there are stages to commitment. Now, obviously, a commitment itself is a decision, just like marriage. Are you committed? Yes, 100%. Through sickness, through health, like doesn't, or in sickness and health, you close the quit door. You weld it shut. There is no quitting. We don't even bring up the word divorce. So the same thing is true with any commitment. However, to reach new levels, you need to buckle down and double down. And then you need to understand. Now, I'm not going to get into every single aspect of this. We've already been going over 20 minutes, but the emotional cycle of change. Many of you have probably already seen this, heard of this, but this is why you can't be emotional about commitments. If it's important when you're excited, it's also important when you're not excited. Basically, the premise here is that when you first start any venture, you're excited because you don't know all the ins and outs of it. You're just excited, like, oh my goodness, like I could have six-pack abs. I'm so pumped about it, right? But you go through a cycle, highs and lows, and eventually you get to the point where you have this, you start with uninformed optimism, and then eventually it becomes informed or uninformed pessimism, right? And then informed pessimism. You get to this valley of despair area, and just this is not fun anymore. And then becomes informed optimism as you move forward. It's like, hey, now I know exactly what it's going to take, and I'm doubling down, and I can do this. So what is required is emotionless follow through. Who cares? Who cares how you feel? And in order to be emotionless about it, you need to prepare for the hurdle, because they're going to happen, the speed bumps, the issues. Life is always going to happen. But when you're not prepared, like for example, a very, very simple one, a very, very basic one that is easy to visualize. It's like if you're working to eat clean, I'm cutting out all the processed stuff. I'm like, no more fast food, no more this, no more that. Okay, but what happens when you put yourself in a position where, like, I forgot my food? I forgot I meal prepped and I forgot my food. Okay. Do you have a backup stash of healthy snacks somewhere? Or is it at the first hurdle, you're like, you know what? Let's go to the drive-thru. I guess it ain't worth it. I guess it ain't working. I wasn't prepared. Well, that's on you. Hurdle preparedness. And then the other thing, and this is very, very important when it comes to commitment. If you want to move forward, now I do believe that you're far more capable than you realize. But I also believe you need the three C's to truly be successful: coaching, community, and accepting of correction. Because all of those things are a new level of accountability. And if you don't have that, that's actually the problem with most men. Most men, because of pride, they're not looking for a coach. They're not working with a coach. They think they got it all figured out. They don't have community because basically most men are loners. Now there may be surface level friends, but I'm talking about like growth, like men that you can actually be in community with to focus on growing and developing and bettering yourself. Not just like, oh yeah, let's have a few beers and hang out. Like, how does that make you better? It doesn't. And then again, because of pride, People don't like men don't find coaches. They don't plug into community. Oh, it's kind of weird getting to know people again. Like, yeah, but you're not supposed to do life alone. And the last one, correction. Like, obviously, there is a correct way to correct people. This is actually one of the biggest problems in the church, too. But the truth is that the church has become very soft because men have become very soft. And the more divided we are as men, meaning we're not in community, the less plugged in we are to men who can actually help us grow and develop and be that example, then the less accountable we are. And then we want to look at discipline versus motivation. Now, even though I would say many times I motivate people and I help, and as a high performance coach, there is that aspect to it. But the more disciplined someone is, the less they need motivation. Motivation focuses on emotion. It's like, man, like I'm so fired up, I'm so motivated because in that moment, emotionally, you're stirred up. But what happens 3 days from now when you wake up, or 2 days from now and it's Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, and you're not feeling it anymore? Like, dude, it's the middle of the week. Like, can we just get through another week? That's not how you want to be living your life. You don't want to be living your life from the standpoint of just another week, just another, oh, it's another week. Let's just, move forward in the calendar. Like, you got nothing going on in your life, nothing you're excited about, nothing you're fired up about. Be disciplined. You want the result, be disciplined. One day at a time, one day at a time, one day at a time. It's actually how you build and utilize the compound effect. One day at a time. It's like a penny doubled every day for 30 days. It becomes a lot of money. But starting out, it's like a penny doubled. Like, that's like what? It ends up being like 20 cents. No, it ends up being millions of dollars. Okay, and then the other thing, association. Now, I just talked about the three C's: coaching, community, and correction. But association, just in general, like, who are you hanging out with? Are you hanging out with people that, and I don't believe that people are better than you, but in terms of the fruit that they have, you shall know them by the fruit. Do they have better fruit than you, worse fruit than you, same fruit as you? Is it all spoiled? Is it all rotten? Is your association benefiting you? Are you benefiting from your association? Or are you holding them back, or are they holding you back? The people you hang out with is very, very important. Accountability, brought that up. And then the plan, commitment. So these are all things that you should be committed to. What is the plan? Commitment. Now, for men who want to move forward in all aspects of life, this is where I talk about the 4 pillars, because it is a surefire way to start winning every single day in every area of your life. So there's power, passion, purpose, and production. How do you start moving forward in those areas? Well, we focus on the champion protocol. And you can find all this in the free community. My name is Champion Community on School. Link will be in the description below. But it's for men that want to grow. So power, physical success, right? Passion, relationships in your life, purpose, your God-given purpose. Why are you here? To influence and enjoy. Influence for the kingdom and enjoy based on the gifts that you can give. But how do you live that out? And then production. If you don't control money, it controls you. So providing for your family, taking care of the needs of your family, and I mean your kids, their kids, their kids. So you need to be committed to the plan to actually move forward. You want to get in better shape, commit to a plan. You want to move your finances forward, commit to a plan. You want to be able to retire, like, commit to a plan. Like, it's not that difficult if you have a plan in place and you're executing on it. Okay. And then the last one here is transcendence. And what this means is a continued life of growth. Because many times when people are looking at, a goal, an objective, it's like as soon as they hit it, they're done. So this is about a greater legacy, a complete shift in actions and attitudes, realignment continually, complete lifestyle of growth, a plan to give, living outside yourself. So this is going from I'm not where I want to be. Here's a plan to get where I want to go. And then you're moving forward in that. You're seeing success. You're tasting success. Transcendence is then saying, you know what? This is bigger than just me. This is about giving back. This is about helping others. This is a lifestyle shift, a lifestyle change, because I never want to go back to the way that I was before. That's why that awakening first took place. I am nowhere close to where I want to be. Why would you ever want to hit a goal, check a box, like boom, did it, and then go back to where you were? So transcendence is where you say, like, no more. I'm better than this. I was created for greatness, conditioned to fail. I am no longer a failure. I am a winner. I am a champion, more than a conqueror. With authority to trample snakes and scorpions, I win every single day. Everything I touch turns to gold because the favor of God is draped upon me. That's how you need to win in your life. So when we look at that and we look at the 3 steps, ACT, act, most people fail simply because they fail to what? Act. They fail to get going. 1 step. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. Not that you want to eat an elephant. But that's how it works. 1 bite at a time, 1 step at a time. That's how you move yourself forward. You don't look at things. You say, like, man, like, I've been out of shape. Like, I'm probably 100 pounds overweight. I don't know that I could ever do it. Like, well, yeah, but can you be better today? Just 1 day at a time. Eat less crap. Walk a little bit more. 1 day at a time. That's how you move yourself forward. That's the high performance pathway. You can look at it narrowly on any one thing in the micro or in the macro in your life in general. Who are you? Whose are you? Are you where you need to be? What's the litmus test look like? We'll go back to this. The role of man. Are you living up to those roles? Are you performing? What's the culture test in your family? What's the culture test in your business? The self-assessment is required. Are you standing up to the test? Are you passing the test? You tell me. So that's what we got for you today in Monday Morning Motivation. Hopefully that helps you. Hopefully that shows you, hey, I can win. I can succeed. I can accomplish anything I set my mind to. In fact, I mean, that's, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. When it comes to your purpose, that is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. It doesn't mean you can hop on a football field on Sunday afternoon if you haven't even played football, you're like for a decade. Like, that's not what it's talking about. But when it comes down to it, no matter what you face, if you're walking in purpose, you're walking in the gifts, and you're in alignment with that in your actions, you can absolutely do all things through Christ. So let's get it. Happy Monday. Let's rise above.